Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we're going to wrap up our quarterback rankings, which we started on Tuesday. We went 1 through 15. Today, 16 through, I don't know, at least 32. Actually, we think we were a little deeper than that. Some of the backups, we'll mention who those are too. That guys could play, but not everyone cares about the guys this far down. But if you're in a 2-quarterback league, you definitely do. If you're in a deeper league, 14 to 16 teams, these guys are your bye week guys all the time. And even in a regular league, these are your bye week fill-ins. And I think there's a guy or two down here who I think has more potential to be up there. Could be a top 10 type guy. There's not like a huge breakout guy I see here, but there's a couple guys that if you told me at the end of the year they're a top 10, would 100% believe it. So it doesn't hurt to talk about them, go over them. These guys we always gloss over. We don't talk about them very much as we go. So we might as well do that a little bit here. Before we do that, make sure you check us out on Twitter. We're at the FF Prophet. On Instagram, we're Fantasy Football Prophet. We always have new posts every day, different stuff. We'll put our rankings there. You'll be able to see all those, comment on them. People will probably yell at us. It happens. They yell at Jeff more than they yell at me. Have you noticed that, Jeff?
There's a few.
It's like 2 players.
A few key players they do not like.
Only because you have an opinion that might not mainstream, but it's not even far. But it's not even crazy. So,
no, I mean I don't think so.
No, they might. I don't know how they'll feel about our Dak Prescott ranking from before. I've been hearing every time we don't have a guy in the top 10, then we get yelled at.
Yeah, I feel like we're not going to feel the love on that one.
That's all right. This is how we feel about the guys, and we're not always going to be right, but we'll at least try to tell you why we're thinking that way, why we came to that conclusion. But make sure you also check us out, fantasyfootballprophet.com. As we get these rankings done here coming up in the next few weeks, they'll all go up on our website. You'll be able to always find them there. And you can email us, fantasyfootballprophet@gmail.com. Just like we did the other day, we had a little mini mailbag. We'll keep doing those. If questions keep coming in, keep answering your questions, help you out any way that we can. So let's get right into it. Number 16 for us, it's Andy Dalton. And this is a guy who I actually think could end up there. He's starting, when I was doing the ranks, a lot of times he wasn't one of these guys I would consider in this range of players that we always talk about, these, after the top guys. But I think he is up there. And why he wasn't last year is because of the A.J. Green injury. Before the A.J. Green injury, he was kind of a top 10 borderline guy, especially top 12 if you're in a 12-team league. He was a borderline quarterback 1. So what with a healthy A.J. Green, with, new Joe Mixon at running back, why can't they be there? John Ross, there's some weapons there now. I think he has a chance to be relevant in a 2-quarterback league. He's very relevant. I think it's a good pick in a 2-quarterback league. I ranked him 17th. You ranked him 16th, so we're kind of both in line. What do you think? Do you think I think there's a chance he could do something. I really do.
Yeah, he's a tough one because yes, he absolutely can do something. I mean, in 2013, he was 5th overall in quarterback. So he does have that upside. And last year, you're absolutely right. He looked really, really good in that first half when AJ was around. After that is when he really kind of fell off. But what I like about him is, you already mentioned it, but the weapons he finally has are very, very good and very, very good in the red zone. So you have AJ Green, which is obviously your number 1 wide receiver. Then you have Eifert, which if he stays healthy, there's no doubt he helps Dalton move up from last year's, overall, I think he was like the 17th ranked quarterback.
Yeah, and what he did, he had 4,200 yards passing. He had a good completion percentage of 64. It's just he didn't have the touchdowns. Is that AJ Green and Eifert being hurt?
I think so.
That's a lot of that. So the offense just wasn't working.
And the interesting thing about him is even in 2015, he missed 3 games. But his touchdown to interception ratio finally kind of evened out. Before that, he threw a lot of interceptions, even though he had pretty good amount of touchdowns as well. So, the 2013 season, which he did very, very well, was 33 touchdowns, 20 interceptions.
The reason that season was good, so much better, it was all the touchdowns. Yeah, like 2015, he missed those 3 games. He had 3,200 yards, so you give him 3 more games. He's going to get up close to 4,000. He already had 25 touchdowns, so he's going to probably be in the 30 range.
Yeah, and he kept it low, so only 7 interceptions that time around.
Yep, and it's just, and his completion percentage was 66. in 2015. Last year it dropped. It was only down to 64.7, but it dropped slightly. But if you don't have a number one option out there, things aren't just going to be like, it's just not going to be as easy.
Yeah.
If you get a healthy AJ Green, if you have a healthy Tyler Eifert, if Ross is anything, if Mix of the running game works, this could be, he could surprise. I'm not talking surprise into top 5. I'm talking be a top 10, top 12. Yeah. It's not even much of a surprise. I think he could be that.
I think if Eifert and AJ Green stay healthy, I think he will be in that. And then,
I think
like
so
you said. So, and it's kind of funny too, because he's a little, he has a kind of a surprising, he usually gets actually at least a few touchdowns rushing as well, which you would never think because you don't think Andy Dalton rushing. But, I mean, he's had 4 touchdowns on the ground, then 2, 4, 3. So he kind of like has the stats that way as well. But I think last year was just kind of an anomaly of how few how few touchdowns he threw. Because, I mean, it was the lowest touchdowns number that he's ever had.
Yep.
And I think the fact that, I mean, AJ Green was out and Eifert was the hugest portion of that.
Yep.
So I think he'll rebound, and I think he's going to be 13th, 14th possibly. And I think if things really go his way, he could be a top 10 guy, and that'd be a really sneaky pick.
Yeah, and you actually have him ranked ahead of Cam Newton. So I don't right now, but I can see that. I feel like Dalton's a safer option, actually. So
yeah,
I can see it. Number 17 for us is Blake Bortles. He's your 15th, so you actually have him ahead of Dalton and Newton. I have Bortles down at 19. But looking at it, he was 10th last year, I think, and 4th the year before. He's been a top 10 guy the last 2 years, but he's not I don't think we've talked about Bortles a few times, like we think there's something there. I don't think he's been a good quarterback so far in the 3 seasons. He's thrown about 58% completion percentage every year. That's not good for an NFL quarterback. Yeah. That's not good. But I don't know. I think they should have given him one more chance, one more year, which they're doing. I can get that. But he puts up fantasy football numbers. That's the difference here. Maybe my 19th rank is a little bit low, but I don't feel comfortable enough to get to draft him. But I guess you can see him ahead of Dalton and Newton. He just puts up these numbers, which you can't deny that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, though. He's not, I wouldn't call him a good quarterback.
No.
But like we say, fantasy is more about the position that you're thrust into. And on the Jaguars, he gets to throw a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, last year he had 625 attempts. That is insane numbers.
Part of that, maybe that's part of his completion percentage, is that they're down. They just have to chuck the ball around. They're not in good situations to do it. I mean, it should be higher, but maybe that's part of it. With no running game, really, it just doesn't help. I don't know. There's a lot of factors that could be there. With Fournette now, this is where you really get the chance to see, okay, if they have a good running game, they're not able to just drop back and disrespect the run. Maybe he's only going to be 25 years old this year. He's young. Like, maybe there's something there. It wouldn't shock me if he did something. And so, yes, there is some potential, and he always ends up near the top 10. Yeah. So
it feels like he's been around for a long time, but this is only going to be his 4th year.
He's 25 years old.
In his sophomore season, why I think people were a little higher on him last year, his sophomore season, he did really, really well. I mean, he threw the ball 606 times, so that was crazy already for a guy in his second season doing that. But he had 4,400 passing yards, 35 touchdowns with 18 interceptions. So a ton of interceptions every year.
That's where
he throws the ball a ton.
It's the interceptions and the completion percentage that people look at and realize, I think this guy's not, just watching him, he doesn't seem like a very good NFL quarterback yet, but there's a lot of factors. Like, he was the 3rd pick in the draft, I believe. So, I mean, coaching staff might not be there. It's just there's a lot of things that could have gone into this.
Yeah. And last year, 23 touchdowns for 625 attempts seems very, very low. And we also saw how Allen Robinson dropped off. But his wide receivers are pretty good. And Allen Robinson, even though he may have burned everyone last year, he's still a very, very good prospect, a very, very good, talented wide receiver. And then we talked about Marquise Lee was actually one of your sleepers because he was quietly good. Yep. They have Hearns. If Fournette takes off some pressure, really, I know he hasn't been great, but this could be maybe a year that he actually takes a step in the right direction as far as trying to be a NFL quarterback compared to just a guy that gets volume.
Yep.
But either way, I don't really care if he's good or not because the guy puts up numbers.
Yeah, he does.
And as long as he doesn't get benched, he's pay dirt. So
in a 2 QB league, if you have a pretty solid number 1 option, he's not a bad flyer, not a bad guy you can put out there. He might put some really good weeks up for you.
Yeah.
So Number 18. He's my 16th player. He's your 18th player. It's Tyrod Taylor. And he actually almost made my trending up list. Like, just more and more, I look at those rushing numbers from him, 500 yards, I think each of the last 2 seasons, like 4 and 6 touchdowns, something like that. 10 touchdowns, I think, the last 2 years combined. Is he going to be the best running quarterback in the NFL now? Is he going to be the one ahead of Newton? He's going to be ahead of Russell Wilson. Who else is there? Mariota, maybe a little bit. I think Tyrod's like the number 1 rushing quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and you kind of know where he's at, right? So
with the rushing is why I feel like he becomes a very safe option. That's where I think he is. He was 8th quarterback last year, 14th the year before. If Sammy Watkins is healthy, if Zay Jones can be a player like we think he can, be a productive player, I think he can be productive. I don't know how good yet, but good enough to help Tyrod. If his passing numbers go up a little bit and the rushing stays the same, he becomes great. Yeah. If the rushing can stay exactly the same, if the passing just gets a little better, he's all of a sudden a really good player. 3,000 yards last year, 17 touchdowns. He doesn't throw picks. Only 12 picks last year, 6 and 6. Doesn't throw picks, but he also doesn't throw touchdowns. Yeah. That's the problem. If the completion percentage is fine, 63 and 61. All the numbers look good. It's just if you talked about Bortles throwing 600 passes a season. Mm-hmm. Last 2 years, 380, 436. That's with 14 and 15 games. So that's only missing a couple games. That's not. He's getting about 200 less pass attempts than Blake Bortles.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, to say substantial would be underrating.
That's quite a bit difference right there.
The only thing, and this is why he dropped on my board and why he kind of came up where he was. The thing I worry about, and I think you're right, I think the big thing is, can Sammy Watkins stay healthy? Because his numbers will directly correlate with Tyrod, so his numbers will go up. But the thing that worries me about this is 2015, especially the first time he really had full control of an offense, 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He runs for about, 550 and 4 touchdowns. Really, really good. The next year, he actually gets 56 more attempts throwing the ball, and he ends up with almost the same amount of yards and actually less touchdowns. Mm. So I think the numbers, I would like to see an increase where I didn't, and pretty much they all stayed the same, besides for the attempts. So his percentage went down, and then it just kind of stayed the same. Yep. Once again, if Sammy Watkins gets inserted, there's no way that touchdown number doesn't go up. So if you're banking on Sammy getting healthy,
Tyrod is going to have a better year.
You could grab him for QB number 2, yep. And you could grab Sammy, where I would tell you not to, but he would be very, very good if he stays healthy.
He's one down here that has that potential to me. He does. There could be something there. It wouldn't surprise me if his numbers go up. You're going to be he's going to be extremely valuable.
Yeah. And, we talk about these quarterbacks taking a step up.
Mm-hmm.
Really, he's been in the league since 2011.
He's been there a while. He just didn't play.
But this is really only his 3rd year of being a starter.
Yep.
So if he's ever going to take a step up, this would be the year to do it.
Yep. And I think I've been hearing there's a lot of Tyrod Taylor love out there. People are going to be down on us about his 18th rank. Well, but the thing is, he hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, it's very scary to rank him above to where he's been.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, it's just hard to rank him a lot higher than this. I could see him going ahead of Bortles maybe, but Bortles has had 2 top 10 seasons. So it's just tough. This is, I think, where you need to put him. But yes, I understand there's probably some upside there, actually.
Yeah, and, there's also some risk when you're talking about a guy that runs the ball this much.
There is, yeah.
We talked about with Russell and Cam, yep. But this guy has he missed 2 games in 2015 and then a game last season. And, the guy rushes. He had 100 rushes, almost, 200 rushes over the past 2 seasons. Yep. It is not, that is a number that you really do want to look at.
Yep. All right. Number 19 is Eli Manning. My 18th, your 19th. Eli is kind of always a disappointment, honestly. That's just, I don't know what else to say. You think he should be better than he is. He's played, I think, about 15 seasons now. He has finished in the top, in the top 9, I'll say 2 times of those 15 seasons. He finished 10th 4 times. So 6 of his first 15 seasons have been top 10 seasons. It's not much, but he's about 10th. 4 seasons at 10. That's what Eli Manning ends up being. But last year was 21st. He was 22nd in 2013. He had the two top 10 seasons in between that. He comes on to Eli. Yeah, he has a good supporting cast this year, I think, with Beckham. We think with Beckham and Marshall. I think Marshall's going to be solid, but Marshall's also about 33 years old. there's no guarantee that last year everyone seems to think Marshall checked out because he played for the Jets and he just didn't care last year. He still had a lot of targets. He just didn't catch the ball. He drops a lot of passes. He's about 33 years old. Could he just be done? I definitely think there is. We haven't talked about Marshall very much.
No, I mean, there's got to be a point where you think he's maybe not done, but he's got to be regressing, right? Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that because the guy was phenomenal. And at some point, you're just not quite as athletic as you used to.
That's what I keep hearing is Eli's going to have a great season because of his weapons are so just amazing this year. I don't see it.
I think they
could be. There is yes, I can see.
I think they're better than last year.
I can see why they could be. But Sterling Shepard,
I think as a wide receiver 3, that's very, very good.
It is. There's too much love for Evan Ingram right now.
Yeah,
I like Evan Ingram. He could be there, but we've talked about this before. Rookie tight ends, it doesn't usually happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. He's the 4th option at best. So in the run game, Paul Perkins is their running back. We don't know if he can actually handle that. And they might just be able to drop back and cover everybody. Can't really cover Beckham too much, but I'm not trusting Eli. It's just pretty much it. I think I can see the chance to it. Basically what I see is Eli could be a top 10 guy, but he's not going to be better than 10.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
his best case.
His thing, yeah. Do you get a back end QB1, and I say that loosely, or do you go with someone with more upside? Because we know exactly what Eli can and cannot do, and really the only times if he's going to get up to that 10 spot, that means he's going to have 30 touchdowns or more.
Yep.
With his wide receivers, he can, yes, but he doesn't usually get to that very often.
And Eli's going to have that multiple interception game and really just give you 6 points and screw you over.
Yeah,
it's an Eli thing. I will never feel comfortable as Eli is my starting quarterback. As a bye week fill in for 1 week, I'll do it.
Yeah,
but I don't feel comfortable enough.
Exactly. At best, I have him as streaming quarterback.
And I feel much more comfortable with Tyrod Taylor. I feel much more comfortable with Dalton Bortles. All the guys we have ahead of him, I feel more comfortable with. So that's.
And why we have them ranked ahead.
That's why they're there. All right, number 20 for us is going to be Joe Flacco, actually. Joe Flacco comes in at number 20. He's your 20th, my 21st. He kind of feels like Eli Manning.
Yeah. We're hitting all these players where you're just like, eh.
He's kind of that thing. He's a guy where you think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback who you always feel like he probably should be better than what his numbers end up being. And we've talked about that before. The last 2 seasons, the Ravens have thrown for the most yards. I think was Flacco hurt in 2015, though, I believe.
Yes, he was. He only played 10 games.
Okay, yeah. So he didn't have all those numbers. But last year, for the team that threw the most passes in the league, he only had 20 touchdowns. So,
yeah, how do you throw the ball? And, we talked about Bortles being obscene how many times he threw the ball. Flacco threw the ball 672 times, and he only had 20 touchdowns, and worse than that, he had 15 interceptions.
Yep.
There's just really not a whole lot to love here, besides for the fact he's going to throw a lot.
He's never been more than 27 touchdowns in a season.
How is it possible?
His completion percentage for a while there, he had 3 seasons where it was below 60. In the last 3 years, he stepped that up. He's been pretty solid. But he's not going to wow you at all. He's just not going to do too much. He's never had a top 10 fantasy season at all. But based off, there's probably some stats where he has some standard. But he's played. This is going to be, I think, his 10th season coming up here. I believe, yeah, I think this will be his 10th season. So 9 seasons. He's never been better than 11th. 11th. He finished 13th, 14th, 16th, 19th. Then the last 2 years. 20th was he was hurt, yeah. So we don't know. It's just it's not there. And yeah. Jeremy Macklin's the number 1 guy really at this point. Brashard Perriman hasn't done much. Mike Wallace, a running game which we kind of like Woodhead because of the volume. That's why we like him. That's why the completion percentage is up there. He's going to be throwing the ball to Woodhead. That makes us like Woodhead. Doesn't make me like Flacco.
Yeah, they throw a lot of short routes. Obviously, 64% completion rate, like you said, with that many throws and you only have 20 TDs. That's pretty apparent. I do have to say, I think the wide receiving crew does bounce back a little bit. Obviously, last year they had Smith, who was great, but obviously he got hobbled. He was kind of at the end of his career. I think Macklin is a huge get for them because I think before that they were really going to be hurting. So I think he definitely helps him. I think Woodhead helps him. I think Mike Wallace is the only one that can really stretch the field at the moment, which is very, very, that's going to be a very tough situation.
Yep.
Really, you're banking on, is Perriman going to turn into that possible wide receiver one someday that they think he can? He's finally got to play last year after being hurt through his rookie season. So, that's as bright as I can make it, and that's just the truth about Flacco, really. Like, once again, like Eli, what he can do, what he can't do. I love the fact that he throws that much, but I don't see his touchdowns. 27 was the most he's ever gotten. So even if he gets mid-20s, he's still not relevant, in my eyes for almost streaming. He would be literally like 1 or 2 games.
All right, the next guy, 21st ranked. I actually have him 1 spot ahead of Flacco. You have him 2 spots below. It's Carson Palmer. I think Carson Palmer has another season left in him. I don't know why.
I hope he does.
I've been kind of coming around on this lately. And I don't know why exactly. I just feel like I think I know why it is. I think a healthy John Brown, which is one of my sleeper picks. I think with a healthy John Brown, obviously with David Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald's still there. I think he has the chance to be, top. I have him 20th. I don't have him crazy, but I think he can put up some decent fantasy numbers. And last year, I think it's just going to be kind of a fluke. Not a fluke, but he was really bad for a while. But as I cherry pick my numbers here, weeks 11 through 17, so the final 7 games he played, he was, let me get this right, he was the 9th quarterback in points per game over the last 7. So he was better as the season ended. So I don't know, if that's sustainable, but we have him down to 20th. So I could see a situation where Palmer gets himself back up into that range with like Rivers and Stafford and those kind of guys in that, that tier we talked about. He could get there, but that is his absolute peak for sure for me. And it's not quite the same because his John Brown, is he going to be healthy? Larry Fitzgerald, he's getting older. He's really going to drop down, and they're really going to try to run the ball with David Johnson. So that's where I think we have him so low.
Yeah. And really, in 2015, he actually put together a nice season. Last year, I know he played 15 games, but he was pretty banged up.
Yeah.
I just don't see a whole lot of bright spots. He really is getting up there in age. And like you said, his weapons are aging along with him. He does have a few guys that could possibly pop out, but with a guy as dominant as David Johnson, he's going to hope that David Johnson breaks a bunch of his screen passes to take it to the house. But I don't know, only 2 years ago, he 35 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He can do it, but he's kind of sandwiched. That's the outlier, though. Yeah. So do I expect that to happen? No.
I've heard a lot of good Carson Palmer stories lately, actually, too. They've been pumping up a little bit. So we'll see. I don't quite believe that. Of course, he might look good now, but can he handle a full season?
I'm rooting for the guy, but I feel like age is finally caught up.
I'm going to leave him on the waiver wire, and even when he was as good as when he was his best, he still wasn't ever a guy that I was really trying to pick up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He's just so that's why he's down there. 22nd for us is Carson Wentz. 22nd for me, 23rd for you. He had a decent rookie season. He started, a lot better. Didn't really do much. There's some flashes that this guy could be a good quarterback. He was obviously one of the top. He was the number 2 pick. There's
I feel like he's the exact opposite of Bortles.
Yeah.
Where he flashed things where he could be a good NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
He didn't flash anything that makes me think he can be fantasy relevant.
The only reason I think he could maybe have some kind of increase is how good is Alshon Jeffrey for him. Now he has Jordan Matthews as not a number 1, but number 2. That's decent. I like Zach Ertz a lot. I think he'll look for Ertz a lot this year. The run game worries me. I don't think LeGarrette Blount is good at all. LeGarrette Blount, he's bad. The more I look into things, more I watch stuff, I'm really wait till next week's running back rank. He's like he's done. He's done. Now we hear that Wendell Smallwood could get more work. I'm not excited about that. They're going to be able to just sit on the passing game. Yeah. That's my worry. Wentz, he has some potential. There could be a chance where he can start to be a good quarterback, but I think this is going to be one of those situations where it's going to take a few years, 3, 4, 5 years before he becomes up there. He's not Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Derek Carr. Derek Carr even took a couple years, but he's not going to get there as quickly, I think, as those guys did. It's going to take him a little bit more. Not saying it's not there. It's just I don't think he has the team with him right now to do it.
Especially in his sophomore season. I mean, the thing you do like about the Eagles, the fact that they gave him a ton of opportunities to kind of get his feet under him. 607 attempts last year, which is mind-blowing for a rookie.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and his TD is 16 to 14, which, once again, for a rookie, that's okay. I don't think that I think if he moved in the right direction, it would probably look something like 3,900 yards with, 20 TDs and 13 interceptions. And that would be a very great year for Wentz. And once again, that's not good enough to get it done. So, for fantasy. Yep. So don't buy into the hype a little too much. I know people like him as a quarterback, but that doesn't always translate as you see.
If he becomes a star player, he breaks out. It's gonna happen on the waiver wire for me. So it's just he could do it, but not gonna bet on it.
Yeah, I'd say the chances are pretty slim.
Yeah, it might happen in like 2 or 3 years from now. I could see that.
Yeah, I like him in the future, just not this year.
Number 23 for us is Brian Hoyer. He's my 26th. You're 21st. Talked about Hoyer a little bit actually here coming up. I think he's going to have a lot of volume. There's going to be a lot of passes to go around. We don't have to go too much into Hoyer. If you want to really get into Hoyer stats, Jeff breaks it down really well in our Trending Down episode. He went through it, kind of figured out what he would have been over 16 games last year, which would have been very impressive. Mm-hmm. He would have ended up with 0 interceptions.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers were
but like
but his numbers.
He was the quarterback for the most part when DeAndre Hopkins had his great season. He was the quarterback of the majority of the season.
And for 11 games in Houston, he had 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions with 2,800 yards. He was a legitimate starter.
How many games did he
until
play
he got hurt. He played 11.
11, and then played 4.
Chicago played 4 full, and then he came in when
6 touchdowns. So basically, over the last 2 seasons, which is pretty much ended up being a combined season around there.
Actually, yeah, really close.
25 touchdowns and 0 picks?
25 and 7 picks.
Or 7 picks that year before? That's not bad.
25 and 7, and it turns into about 4,000 yards.
That's very solid. He's going to have the chance to throw the ball around, especially if this Carlos Hyde thing is real. Here's my thing with that. Carlos Hyde's a very good running back, I feel like. If there's something going on and some reason he's not on the team, Joe Williams I don't think is as good. They're not going to be able to run the ball. Tim Hightower won't be able to do it.
No.
Hoyer's going to have to throw the ball a lot. It could increase Pierre Garçon just off volume, which I'm not excited about, but Hoyer is going to be an option, I think, in bye weeks. He could be higher than what we have him. He's not like this pick that you're not going to be in love with getting Brian Hoyer. He's not going to be drafted unless you're in a 2 QB league, but something to keep an eye on.
And the thing, I wanted to kind of creep him up. But he doesn't have anything where I can really look at a full season. And
we're banking on his team to be bad. That's pretty much.
And I'm also banking on him not getting hurt. And then the past 3 seasons, he's been hurt each and every time. So that is a big worry for me. But I really do like his upside as a really far back quarterback. Yep. So he's one that I'm going to kind of keep an eye on just for fun, if you will, especially in like QB2 leagues or if I need a bye week filler.
All right. Number 24 is Ryan Tannehill. My 23rd, your 25th. Tannehill is going into his 6th season. He missed 3 games last year, but he had a 67% completion percentage last year in his 13 games. It's very solid. But he's just not throwing for touchdowns right now. Look, 2014 is when we really thought he was going to break out after that. He had a 66.4 completion percentage, 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 12 picks. We saw that in year 3. And we're like, okay, year 4, this guy's breaking out. Didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And you kind of wonder, is this, it's just kind of his level. He was a top 10 quarterback that year, but is this like where he is? Is this who he is? I think it feels like it. It kind of feels like it, which is fine. He's not like bad. You know what I mean? He's not overly, I don't think he's not terrible. He's just not getting to that next level. Kind of, I feel like that it's just not happening. And maybe he didn't have the weapons. Maybe Devontae Parker, if Devontae Parker becomes what I think he can and he gives Tannehill a number 1 option, maybe that's where it's going to be.
I like that, but I also worry about Ajayi kind of taking over the show. They saw that he can be a workhorse. He had a couple of games that were huge, and they did well in those. So
I wonder if Tannehill just hasn't had that number 1 true option. That's part of it. If Parker breaks out, maybe Tannehill jumps up. Maybe the reason they have a number 1 big option is Tannehill. Maybe he's not good enough quarterback to make that option. It's interesting. What is what?
Yeah, and I feel like at this point he has one more season to kind of show me something new.
Exactly. If he just does the same thing again, I think that's what he is.
Yeah.
I kind of think that's what he is. High-end 20s for touchdowns is pretty much where he's going to get. He can get to 4,000 yards, but he's probably going to throw like 28 touchdowns and about 12 picks, which is okay, but it's just that's not good enough to be a fantasy starter, pretty much. 25th is Alex Smith. My 24th, your 26th.
Oh,
pretty much very just boring. I'm not excited about Alex Smith. Are you excited about Alex Smith?
No, and it's one of those things where being a football player has nothing to do with fantasy. Once again, like at times, he is someone on the field that's just a general. He can make sure you get down the field, throw these short passes, keep the ball safe. That's great. In fantasy, that is like as death. So if you're not actually pushing it down the field, if you're not taking shots into the end zone, you're not worth having on my team. And unfortunately, they have a great defense. They run a very, very conservative offense. And depending on what happens with the run game, once again, Alex Smith could be kind of left out in the cold as far as stats goes.
Yep. And I don't like I like Travis Kelce. I do like Tyreek Hill. But other than that...
Well, they both had great years last year, and he still only had 15 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
And now he doesn't have Maclin, and Chris Conley's the other... I don't think they have a very good receiving core. I mean, traditional-wise, they don't. Tyreek Hill's good, but they need more around that. Hill and Kelce can't do it all. Because they're just not... I don't know.
And I just don't think he's ever even going to get to 4,000 yards passing.
Yep. No, I don't see it.
I mean, last year he did... last year was his best yardage ever, and that was 3,500 yards. And he only had 15 touchdowns. So
I think that's about the max you're going to get from him.
Yeah, I mean, he tops out at 23 touchdowns. He's just, there's not a whole lot of upside with Alex Smith.
No. All right, moving on. We actually talked about these guys a little more than I was expecting, but it's kind of, hey.
Well, it's very tough because you're really cutting it close. It's between hairs and who you think can have upside and who doesn't.
Number 26 is Mike Glennon. He's my 27th player. You're 24th. Mm-hmm. In this one, there's not much to go on. His rookie season, was it, that he played a little bit? He looked okay.
Yeah.
He was okay, but he hasn't really played since, last 2 seasons when they drafted Winston. It's more, he's a guy who don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect. His receiving core, I don't know what to expect from them. Meredith, I think we think could be decent. Kevin White always has the potential to be better. We don't have any idea what Kevin White is. Mm-hmm. Even if there could be a chance he's never as good as he was coming out of college with the injuries. It could have just not ended his career, but he's not the player he could have been. It probably won't be. It's hard to come into the league and miss 2 years and really be amazing. But Glennon, he's a guy I don't know what to expect. I don't even know what to say. He hasn't been a starting quarterback.
No, and I think I may have I like in a weird way, I like the situation he's put in. Because if he was going to be on pretty much the Bears, I don't think they're going to be that good. And they have Howard, but they're going to have to throw the ball. And I actually do like Cam Meredith quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I think Zach Miller is very competent.
If he makes the team, I've been hearing he could get cut. He could get cut. I've been hearing those rumors. I don't know what that's going to happen.
And then once again, Kevin White, like you said, is a freak athlete. Will anything come of it? I don't know. But I know he's going to have to throw. And I know that if he ever wants another job in the NFL, because Trubisky is pretty much guaranteed to get this slot next year.
Yeah, it's pretty much a 1 year deal for Glennon.
Yeah, so Glennon has to prove himself. So if I was him, and you'd be slinging that ball. But also, I really do, the numbers he did put up in very limited amounts. Yep. 2013, he played in 13 games in his rookie season. He put up 2,600 yards, which is not great, but it's not bad for a rookie. And he had 19 touchdowns with 9 interceptions, which is very good ratio for him. And then he comes back 2014, only gets to play 6 games. He had 1,400 yards, 10 TDs, 6 interceptions. So on those very limited basis, the touchdown to interception ratio is pretty good, and he shows himself to be somewhat competent. Mm-hmm. I wish that percentage would go up because he was 59% and then 57%. But once again, I think playing an entire season and getting to play with these wide receivers, I think that he could be once again some of these quarterbacks, but I think he could be a sneaky pick. And I think his rage, especially with how they treated him with that number 1 pick, I think he has a huge chip on his shoulder. So I'm rooting for the guy.
And he's our 3rd quarterback in Scott Fishbowl.
And also what I'm rooting for.
Yep. So that's a plus. Number 27, Sam Bradford. My 25th, your 27th. Sam Bradford, the player who threw like the highest completion percentage in NFL history last year. Remember we were going over these Sam Bradford numbers? Here we go. He had 3,800 yards. And this is like, you put these stats 10, 15 years ago. This was 20 years ago. This is the best quarterback in the NFL. 3,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 picks, 71% completion percentage. You look at that and you're like, oh, he's very good, efficient quarterback, but that doesn't really get it done in the NFL these days. You can't just be that conservative you could if you had a running game to go with that. Minnesota didn't have a running game last year to go with that. Maybe they will with Cook and Murray this year. It sounds like, well, Murray, I think I believe starting the year on the PUP list too. We've heard that. But I mean, it's crazy, those numbers. When you just look at those, you should be like, oh, that's very good. But it wasn't really the way it happened. I feel like it was good numbers because it wasn't really moving the ball downfield, just checking down, not really getting many yards.
Once again,
just
it's
not moving
Alex
the sticks
Smith type player,
yeah,
right? Game manager. And he did, to his credit, he did lose Diggs for a few games. Diggs wasn't himself after he injured his groin. The number one pick they had, Treadwell, didn't play at all. And their offensive line was pretty atrocious. So.
This is a hot take right here. Sam Bradford could actually be a lot better. Like, this is interesting. Think about this. We just talked about it. Diggs, I think Diggs is a good wide receiver. Treadwell, we don't know, but
it gotta be okay, you would think.
Right?
He was so dominant.
If Treadwell is a first round talent, I mean, it could be something. Thielen, it could be there.
Even if it was
Kyle Rudolph's a good,
top 3 round talent. Yep. Like, if you're going to be the third wide receiver, you know what I mean? And Rudolph, which is a good red zone guy.
Yep.
It feels like he should be better than he is. Yep. I just don't think he's ever been the guy that can throw the ball down the field. And I don't think that's the way that their offense is set up because they can lean on their defense.
He's a former number 1 pick. It's just crazy. Like, they could have weapons. They have Kyle Rudolph, who,
so many.
Did you look on Instagram? We posted this.
I was going to say, I couldn't believe
the target list. The top 20 people, the top 20 players in the NFL in targets. Only one tight end made the list, and it was Kyle Rudolph. Right? Like, a lot of people thought that too. They're kind of surprised at Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
And it's part of probably the 71% completion percentage. And Rudolph gets touchdowns, but I don't know. Maybe Bradford could be a little bit. There's room to move, but maybe from what do we have in 27th? We said maybe there's room more to move to 20th. But
there's definitely room for growth. I still don't think that they addressed that line, and I don't. And if you didn't address the line, you didn't really get that backfield in the position to help out Bradford. And once again, he doesn't really throw the deep ball or anything like that. So I think it would be very tough for him to improve on the touchdowns and yardage enough to pole vault him where we would like to see him. But I mean, but parts of those numbers are very impressive.
Actually, I'm going to cherry pick some stats here to try to get my Sam Bradford point. I don't know why I became a Sam Bradford fan. I kind of don't. I think Sam Bradford just gets a bad rap. I really do. I think if he wasn't a number 1 pick, obviously he wouldn't get as much.
Yeah.
Which funny thing is Sam Bradford and Alex Smith were both number 1 draft picks, first pick overall. They're the same guy. Yeah. I think if they both weren't number 1 picks, maybe they wouldn't get as much hate as they do.
Overall. That comes with the territory.
Over the last 4 games of the season, I like my little stats here, Sam Bradford was the 6th best quarterback in the NFL in points per game. The only players ahead of him, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson. He was 1 spot ahead of Drew Brees.
Oh, wow.
Over the last 4. Which, okay, we say that, and Alex Smith actually tied with Drew Brees right below him. That's weird.
Yeah.
Don't know where that comes from. So it makes me feel like my stats are terrible. But it comes down to the last 2 games of the season. So you see here, in week 16, so his 15th game, he was 34 for 50. So he still kept the completion percentage up, throwing that many passes for 382 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And even the last game, 25 for 33, which is 75% for 250, 3 touchdowns, and he threw 1 pick. He actually, those last 4 games, he went 292, 291, 382, 250. His completion percentage stayed around 70, and he didn't have touchdowns in the.
Well, I was going to say, the final 2 weeks, he had 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. So that just blows everything
What is
up.
that? Where'd that come from? And was that a change in the offense? Was there something?
We might have to look into that a little bit more, but was there some kind of change that happened? Like, I don't know. Or they just the end of the year, they're out of it. They're just throwing the ball around.
That's what you're
But
wondering.
maybe they open up their offense a little bit more because of it.
Well, it was against Green Bay and Chicago. So you take that with, Green Bay really didn't have any defense last year. And then Chicago was out of it for, they didn't care.
If you're looking at his game log, if you look from his game 8 on, his completion percentage is just unreal.
It really is.
What was going? They're just checking down like crazy.
Pretty much all season it was pretty unreal.
The funny thing is, though, it's just I don't know, crazy. It's an interesting thing. But they won their first 5 games, and then after that they just or 4 games, and after that they kind of just fell off. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what to think about Bradford. It's just interesting when you look at his stats. Actually, kind of, I didn't think we'd spend that much time on Sam Bradford, but
I know.
All right, next guy at number 28 is Josh McCown, my 28th or 30th. He's always been the kind of guy to just throw the ball around. He's not that good. He's good enough, though. He's 30, I think 8 years old, and he's still in the NFL. And he has a starting job.
And I think the worst thing about him is he's on the Jets. You're going to get no support there.
Terrible team. Quincy Anun was his number 1, and that's about all he has.
There's
really nothing.
bad.
There's nothing else. It's just, I was earlier on, we kind of talked about Powell and Forte and stuff. I'm kind of way down on those guys just because of the situation, too. McCown's just a bad situation. The guy can't stay healthy usually either. He gets hurt a lot. Mm-hmm. Played for every team in the NFL as well. So
yeah.
He's kind of not a situation we're going to deal with. Even in a 2-quarterback league, you're getting kind of down there. Not much there. Our 29th is actually Tom Savage. Your 29th, your 31st. So as of now, we're ranking it that he will start the season. Most everybody else seems to think it is going to be Watson. It could be. And if it is Watson, I think I just pretty much put Watson here at this point. Watson, I got to see something before he moves way up for me. There's a chance there, too. I don't see that happening in year 1. Maybe we're going to be surprised. Maybe it's Dak Prescott all over again, and we need to adjust, but I'm not going to adjust now. It'll be adjust after we see 2-3 weeks of it. As of now, I think it's going to be Savage. I just kind of have that feeling.
I do, too.
They don't need to rush Watson, because here's the thing. They have a good team. I think they have a good defense and a very solid team where they don't need to just throw this rookie quarterback in there. Put Savage in there and try to see what they can do.
Yeah, first of all, you can see if he can do anything. He'll be in his 3rd year. First of all, if nothing else, he can become trade bait for some other team that's in dire need. And Deshaun Watson, I feel like the longer you can have him on the bench, the better off he'll be.
Yep.
And I really don't think that they're in any better of a position if they start him over Savage. So I think Watson will play at some point in the season. I don't think he'll be in the first half, though.
Then round out our list. Don't have to talk about too much. Trevor Siemian, we kind of think will be the starter right now. He's 30th. 31st, Cody Kessler, who we have up there as the Brown starter. It could be Kaiser. Who knows about Osweiler? Who knows? 32nd, the sad thing is for these other guys, he's behind them. He is the starter, Jared Goff. So just not expecting much. These guys are even in 2-quarterback leagues, you're just kind of avoiding them. You're not even really, if you're a 2-quarterback league, I guess you have to have a backup, but you hope get one before those guys. That's about all I got today for the quarterbacks. I think that's it for quarterbacks. Move on to running backs next week.
Yep.
As we go deeper in the running backs up to 50, we actually have some interesting players to look at. So other than the Jared Goffs. But that is all we got for today. We'll talk to you guys next time.